Harry's wife. She's the new Fergie. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. No, this isn't a reference to Harry's wife suddenly going into football team management and emulating Alex Ferguson, but rather her emulating, apparently, Sarah Ferguson, or Sarah Fergie Ferguson, as she's more commonly known. As I've explained to you previously, narcissists don't have a sense of core self, and that's why character trait acquisition is engaged in. This is why Harry's wife purloins so many things from other people, taking quotes that other people have used and passing them off as her own. Hanging around with the likes of Gloria Steinem, for instance, to hijack her successes and bask in the reflected glory herself. These various shards, pieces, fragments, are acquired by Harry's wife subconsciously and bolted onto the construct to make her seem more interesting, to give her depth, or at least the illusion of depth, to create an external image to draw people to her so that they respond and react to this construct, and thus she gains fuel, is able to control people, is able to get more character traits, and of course those precious residual benefits. Some narcissists wholesale mirror other individuals, copying the way that they walk, the way that they talk, the way that they dress, their views. They become in effect the doppelganger, which can be quite disconcerting for some individuals to find that they are being mirrored in such a way. In other instances, the narcissist takes a bit from that person, something from that person, something from that person over there, and becomes a hodgepodge of the various constituent parts. Here, there is a suggestion that Harry's wife has been emulating Fergie. Let's dive in and find out whether that's accurate. And of course, you understand the basis on which this would be done, because Harry's wife has no core. She's simply empty, something that, of course, South Park picked up on when they had Harry lift up her head and ask, "Hello?" which echoed, as it demonstrated the emptiness that is within her. It's The Spectator magazine, and it is Julie Burchill who writes, "Harry's wife is the new Fergie." Before the Sussexes, before the grabdication, was a twinkle in Harry's wife's crocodile eye. There was Sarah, Duchess of York, greedy, grasping, grubby Fergie. Some see Diana as when the stiff upper lip of heritage royalty became the trembling lower lip of the new breed. But the Princess of Wales was a teenage virgin, with a head full of dreams, lured into a marriage in which she was a breeding machine, with a man who was still in love with his ex. This would have made any woman with spirit react. No, Diana was a hard worker, with an attractive dash of spite, that revenge dress, the three in this marriage quip, which stopped her from presenting herself as an all-round victim. Neurosis was just a small part of her emotional repertoire. She realised that one of the best guarantees of good mental health is helping others rather than contemplating one's navel. Or, in the case of Fergie, one's novel. Because the original Ginger Royal Whinger is back, at 63 older, but no wiser, judging from a long interview which she has given to the Telegraph to plug a most intriguing lady, which she has co-written with historical romance author Marguerite Kay. Where to begin with this sumptuous word salad smorgasbord of PR puffery? When in doubt, hitch your wagon to QE2 would be the first lesson. Q Fergie, seeking credibility by association with the most morally upright monarch the world has ever seen. It's unbelievably important to uphold Her Majesty's legacy, and although I'm not a member of the royal family anymore, my values are what I believe is right, and that's what they uphold. Her poor son, Prince Andrew, has been going through such a tumultuous time, and I think Her Majesty was very relieved I could help her with him. She makes him sound like a corgi, two of whom, Muck and Sandy, the Queen left to her. Every day I look at Muck and Sandy and want to say, "It's all right." HM used to give them little bits of digestive biscuits, so after lunch now I'll crack up a biscuit for them and deliberately make that same noise. I find it hard to believe that even the daftest dog could mistake Fergie for the late Queen. Never mind. Next, she's sharing her favourite quotes from Sidney Poitier. It's difficult when you're carrying other people's dreams. You have to hold on to the dream that's inside yourself, and know if you're true to that. That's really all that matters. And also Martin Luther King, the inaudible language of the heart. Doing things for others has been more therapeutic than anything else, she admits. Could she not add a few lines from the late Rosa Parks to drive home the fact that Fergie is an inclusive and diverse parroter of better people's sentiments? If only she could live up to them. Instead, her sheer meretriciousness is hard to rival in recent history. Coming from a village called Dummer, geography is destiny, she was the kind of none-too-bright Sloane, fond of skiing off-piste and skiving off early, who should only ever have been in the papers when hatched, matched and dispatched. Instead, she married the Queen's favourite son, promising to obey, which Diana had refused to, creep, for a brief 6 years. But we haven't been able to get rid of her ever since. Her life has been a shambolic cavalcade of toe-sucking aids, financial stings and weight management merching, all linked by greed, Ferguson's apparent guiding force. And all the while the insistence that she is a strong woman, this poor deluded creature, whose only claim to fame is that she briefly played host to some lucky sperm, thus breeding a pair of princesses, somehow mistook herself for a feminist role model, hated for her dignity and courage. As with many who are at times only on passing terms with La Verite, Ferguson's recollections vary. Thus she now tells the Telegraph, "The dream of every little girl is to be a princess, and I was a princess, and I loved every minute of it," despite moaning to Oprah back in 1996, again leading where the Harkles would follow, that royal life was not a fairy tale. Even more recently, in a 2021 interview with French magazine Madame Figaro, she was calling herself the most persecuted woman in royal history. But luckily, the bruised reed that doesn't break is in my DNA. She also said of her ex-husband, with whom she was and is living at Royal Lodge, "I loved him and I still love him today. I will stay by his side because I believe in him. He is a good man." This is the interesting thing about a not very interesting woman. How did she and her ex-husband pull off such a harmonious conscious uncoupling that they make Paltrow and Martin look like Punch and Judy? Well, as I've written here before, people always say soulmates like it's a good thing, but such relationships can easily turn toxic. And indeed, as you know from my work, valuable viewers, beware of somebody talking about soulmates. There may be a narcissist at work, because such a description is often used by our kind. Now, of course, just because somebody uses the term soulmates, you can't brand them a narcissist just based on that. You need to look for other evidence also. But it is an observation that is commonly made by our kind. When he was with Koo Stark, the article continues, Prince Andrew seemed decent enough. And when Fergie was with her racing driver beau, Paddy McNally, she appeared to have been a jolly red-headed party girl. And who doesn't like them? But some negative alchemy seems to have taken place when they met. The phrase thick as thieves comes to mind. Leaving aside the sexual depravity of Epstein and Maxwell, indeed one area in which the Yorks appear to have succeeded is in raising their children, there is something of the corrosive codependence of that ghastly pair about them. Fergie was caught attempting to pimp Andrew out when she requested 500,000 smackers from an undercover News of the World reporter, telling the fake sheikh, Mazza Mahmood, "That opens up everything you would ever wish for. I can open any door you want, and I will for you. Look after me, and he'll look after you. You'll get it back tenfold." She added that the £500,000 would be a lick of the spoon for her, once again, the greedy, needy thing, which is such an unattractive personality trait. Will she be so keen to stand by her ex-man now, one wonders, as her partner in slime is about to be decanted from Royal Lodge, 30 rooms, 98 acres of land and a swimming pool, to Frogmore Cottage, the somewhat smaller playpen where Harry's wife and Harry stage their early temper tantrums. Well, stranger things have happened. Which brings us to the case of the mysterious role model. Shortly before the Sussexes' wedding, Harry's wife's childhood bestie, Ninaki Priddy, told the Daily Mail, "Harry's wife was always fascinated by the royal family. She wants to be Princess Diana 2.0. But what if it was avaricious Fergie, rather than dedicated Diana, who inspired the actress all along, combining poor me theory with gimme gimme practice? I've got nothing at all against hustlers. Some of my best friends are gold diggers, but I can't stand hypocrites. And if you ceaselessly bang on about altruism and healing while pursuing material goods with all the dignity of a tomcat getting tasered, you're going to make 7 sorts of fool of yourself. While Harry's wife may be eagerly competing with Sarah for the title of the most victimised of royal wives, she might do well to stand back and analyse this ambulatory Orban archive of how not to conduct yourself when you marry into monarchy. Apparently, the older Duchess taught the younger one how to curtsy, how not to become a laughingstock, by studiously avoiding the mistakes already made. While there's still a tiny window of coronation-shaped redemption left, might be an even more valuable lesson. Now, these are the observations of Julie Burchill, believing that it may well be the case that Harry's wife has looked upon Fergie and has emulated her. The short answer to that is she hasn't. Harry's wife, of course, looked upon Diana. Diana is the individual with whom Harry's wife aligns because she believes that she's like her. She believes that she is kind, empathic, an individual that saves people, magnetic, so that people want to tell their life story to her upon meeting her. Her narcissism also causes her to believe that she is like Diana for the purposes, of course, of ensnaring Harry, by slipping into the shoes of Diana and playing mother to the wretched Harry, so that his addiction to narcissists is capitalized upon by exploiting that vulnerability by playing mum to him. It's always been Diana that Harry's wife has emulated. With the suggestion that she's looked at Fergie and followed her poor me victimized approach, well, in actual fact, that just stems from her narcissism. And by looking at Fergie and thinking, poor me theory with gimme gimme practice, not at all. That is the way that Harry's wife naturally behaves. Her narcissism causes her to believe that she's always the victim, and at the same time, it compels her, through a rampant sense of entitlement, to always be on the make, always looking to take, always on the grift. And it isn't an emulation of Fergie whatsoever, but instead, it is simply Harry's wife's narcissism that makes it look like she might be emulating Fergie, but she's not. The character trait acquisition that Harry's wife is engaged in is linked to Diana, Princess of Wales. The poor me theory with gimme gimme practice is entirely a consequence of Harry's wife's narcissism. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.